Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Update Show. I'm your co-host, Trey Holiday. And you guys know we do this as a duo. Hey.
What's up, Trey Holiday? How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Man, I'm good. Happy Wednesday.
Yeah, hump day. You know?
Yeah, this is the anniversary
week.
Anniversary week. Yeah, we've been going wild on the lives. We're going to get you on the live on the story. Well, first of all, let me say good morning. Thank you for tuning in to the Morning Update Show. This is a great opportunity for you to tag and share the stream. Share the stream with people who you feel could benefit from culturally relevant news and information emanating from right here in the Emerald City. Man, we got a few guests in the house today. We've got Andrew Grant Houston, but we call him Ace. Yeah. Andrew's running for mayor, and we're going to talk to Andrew. It was timely. We were supposed to actually have him the other day because it's been out there. People have been cashing in them democracy vouchers.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, he's on the come up. People are putting money where their mouth is, so to speak. And we have Willard Jimerson Jr. Willard Jimerson Jr., King County Zero Youth Detention, ZYD. We're going to have a real serious discussion here about what King County and Zero Youth Detention is trying to do to disrupt gun violence, especially youth gun violence, now with a regional approach. A lot of times shifting demographics, shifting some of everything is that we're seeing gun violence across the county now. Instead of going municipality by municipality, what ZYD is trying to do is bring all of these cities and all these areas together to be able to attack this issue and disrupt gun violence. Speaking of gun violence, unfortunately, we're starting the show today with a horrible story. Thank you, Alia. A horrible story coming out of Atlanta, Georgia last night, where 8 people were killed by a gunman. It looks, I guess they're saying right now, they confirmed that this one gunman did do all 3 shootings down there in Atlanta. This is a clip from CBS this morning, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
And we're going to start in Atlanta because there are fears this morning that a string of deadly shootings at massage parlors in the Atlanta area could be linked to a wave of attacks against Asian Americans. 8 people were killed in the city and at least 1 wounded in those attacks yesterday night, and at least half of the victims are believed to be Asian women. The suspect arrested 150 miles away after a chase is a white man. His name is Robert Aaron Long. That is his picture there. Mark Strassman is at one of the crime scenes in Atlanta. Mark, this story is so troubling and terrifying at the same time. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Gail. 3 of the women were killed at the Gold Spa behind me. Police say it's too soon to tell whether victims were targeted because of their race. But these shootings do come during a pandemic-era surge in hate crimes against Asian Americans.
The shooting spree began around 5 p.m. Monday at Young's Asian Massage Parlor in Cherokee County, 30 miles north of Atlanta. 2 victims died at the scene, 2 more at the hospital. Less than an hour later, police were called to Gold Spa, an Atlanta massage parlor, where police say 3 women who appeared to be Asian had been shot and killed.
While at that location, we received another call across the street at shots fired.
That location was aromatherapy spa, where another victim, who also appeared to be an Asian woman, died.
It's just unfortunate. It's not really making any sense how this happens at a massage spa.
The common thread connecting the shootings prompted an Atlanta police officer to radio in this warning.
So we need to make sure if we have any Asian spas, we need to be checking on them.
A manhunt began for the suspect, seen in surveillance footage driving a black Hyundai earlier in the day.
Georgia State Patrol troopers performed the pit maneuver, which caused the vehicle to spin out of control.
Officers later captured 21-year-old Robert Aaron Long, 150 miles south of Atlanta. Now, relatives of the shooting victims are left grappling over why this happened.
I was just thinking how we never know when we're at the wrong place at the wrong time, because this was so all of a sudden, and it was just like a lot of things racing through my head.
Overnight, the South Korean Foreign Ministry told CBS News that 4 people killed were of Korean descent. Several advocacy groups warned that these shootings are likely to heighten fears among all Asian Americans. I mentioned earlier the spike in hate crimes against them. By one estimate, a 150% increase in those crimes last year. Anthony, just disturbing so many levels.
Yeah, on so many levels, Mark. Thank you. One group is calling for immediate action, even though we do not know for sure that this is a hate crime. In a statement, that group, Stop Asian American and Pacific Islander Hate, says there have been nearly 3,800 reported hate incidents in the U.S. since March of last year. And of course, President Biden singled out violence and hate against Asian Americans during his primetime speech to the nation just last week. This is very concerning. I mean, given everything we now know about what's been going on.
Yeah, and we have to keep saying we don't know for sure, but let's just say this. The signs look very troubling. So much
as
so,
even that police officer indicated.
I was just going to say the police officer said, listen, if we have any Asian spas, we need to be on the lookout for them.
And even as we await
upsetting.
Even as we await word from law enforcement, we can't say definitively this will only deepen fear in the Asian community.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is horrible.
Yeah, this is really horrible. I mean, we have been talking about what we saw there. And I got to make this correlation because we saw January 6th, a bunch of stuff going on, but so much of it was like this basis of hate, man. And we're seeing it rise to the surface and bubble up in these ways. We've been talking about these direct attacks on Asian Americans. This is beyond horrible. Oh,
yeah. I mean, this is just awful. And I think that what we also need to realize as well is that a lot of hate in our country, unfortunately, it's never gone anywhere. It's gone below the surface, but it's never gone anywhere. We reported about a month ago when I think it was was it Harrison or was it Grant? Well, no, it was Harrison, I believe. I'm sorry. But declared martial law in Seattle because people rioted against the Chinese in Seattle and tried to literally run them out of town, force them on a boat, and then try to put them on a train down in Tacoma and everything else. I mean, of course, this is Seattle and that's Georgia. But I mean, I can talk about something here locally that hate in our country has never gone anywhere. It's just been levels of tolerability in the mainstream. And, you know, what we see across the country in King County and even here in the city of Seattle is we see that more and more people are emboldened now to act upon their hate against people of color, Asian Americans, people who are just different than them.
Different than them is absolutely right. And ultimately, I mean, you know, as they reported there, maybe it's too soon to say if this was a direct hate crime, but ultimately, again, the signs kind of point to something that is very specific. To target massage parlors, that is something that, I mean, it's almost like you're going to a specific sector that is oftentimes primarily owned by a certain type of people. And so this, you know, first off, you know, they caught him, which I'm glad that he's just not out on the run. I mean, ultimately, that's one of those things. Caught him alive. Yeah, caught him alive. I mean, we see this, but ultimately, the thing is that here we are again with, you know, a reason for people to be heightened, you know, their sense of anxiety and the fear out there. That's what gets heightened during these kind of situations. So it's not right.
Yeah, and you know, just to be clear, here, Converge Media, you know, we stand with our Asian, Pacific Islander community, people experiencing, you know, hate. Anybody, I mean, we say here all the time, I disagree with a lot of people. I don't hate nobody.
Right.
You know, I mean, and there's space for disagreement. We say here at Converge, man, it's okay for us to disagree, but let's try to make a commitment to understand. Let's, you know, and you know, it's not all right. We make a firm stand against these hateful actions. And you know, we stand with our brothers and sisters. And it was 1 year ago, and it's crazy because the clip is in the morning show where we covered how the vandals broke out all the windows down there at some of the restaurants in Chinatown International District. Yeah. And so, you know, this is something that's been ongoing and now escalating.
Yeah, it's one of those things again where you can't deny how these crimes are really increasing throughout the nation. I mean, they're talking about 3,800 reports in the last year nationwide. These are the kind of numbers that go, whoa, like they really have me at a place where, like in 2021, as you just said, oh, the hate never went anywhere. Now we're starting to see that people are feeling more and more emboldened to take their hate and do something with it. And that's the part right there where it starts to intersect and people end up losing family members, community members, friends. This is the part that really gets to the heart of, so many of us here, that have so much sympathy and love, as you said, for our Asian brothers and sisters out there. I mean, this kind of hate, no matter what it is, targeting any type of people that are different from you is just point blank wrong.
It's crazy, and we had Naomi Ishisaka on here, 1 week ago, actually talking about the same thing. Real quick, saw a clip here from, from Q13 last night, talking about how grocery workers are next up on the vaccine.
Union leaders representing thousands of grocery store workers in Washington say they've been advocating for months for this moment and to have all essential workers prioritized for the vaccine.
Tonight, Q13's Jennifer Lee explains the impact this next tier of vaccination will have on a local family.
I've worked at the Greenwood Fred Meyer store since 2013.
It became quite obvious to Maggie Brashears that she needed to step away from her job in order to protect her family.
I have been on leave since October because my husband is a high risk. My son is high risk.
Brashears says it's a risk shared by all frontline grocery workers since the pandemic started. And now, months later, high-risk critical workers can get vaccinated starting on March 17th.
I was the big risk factor for the entire household because I was the one who was going out and interacting with members of the public every day.
Vaccine eligibility opens up on Wednesday to other high-risk critical worker groups in agriculture, food processing, prisons, and public transit.
I'm so glad that grocery store workers are among the first to get it because, we're actually out there and have been for the last year taking on all these risks in order to keep everything going.
The union UFCW 21 represents 25,000 grocery store employees. Union leaders are reaching out to its members on vaccine eligibility and working with cities, counties, and public health officials to secure vaccine appointments and events specifically for grocery store workers. Brashears says the shot is important and a big part of keeping our loved ones safe and healthy.
We still need the 100% mask enforcement. We still need to social distance. We need more staffing in our stores, and we still need those limitations of shoppers in the stores.
In King County, Jennifer Lee, Q13 News.
Yeah, well, this right here, I think, is really important. So many workers have had to speak up about, the fact that their jobs as essential workers, they are actually on the front lines. And just last night, been on the front lines.
Day one.
It's happening all throughout our state. And just last night, I was on a call for the Federal Way City Council, and there was people there who were grocery workers still demanding that the hazard pay be something that is prioritized out there. So this is really, something that has to be looked at in terms of not only the fact that they are in close proximity to so many people who are outside of their pod, or their living room situation, their living situation, but also that they are the ones that have to utilize their voices to say, look, we are important, we matter. I'm glad that the vaccine is going to be prioritized for them.
Right, and I hope local convenience store workers, corner store workers as well are, included in that. UFCW represents a lot of people working very big supermarkets, but Seattle has a lot of corner stores and mom and pop stores, and and a lot of times those stores are very, very close proximity, smaller space, older buildings, less HVAC, So yesterday, well, let me put this up here. This comes from our partners at the South Seattle Emerald. Report shows racial wealth divide growing in Seattle. This is by Elizabeth Turnbull over at the South Seattle Emerald. And, well, this is no surprise, but it's good to see that someone put out a report. Report published this week by nonprofit Prosperity Now reveals that even before that pandemic arrived, certain communities of color in Seattle have less wealth than fellow white residents. I could have published that. Yeah. And more likely to experience homelessness or more likely to be unemployed. And there was basically a forum, a town hall, or a discussion yesterday. You moderated that. What was that all about?
Yeah, so it was a really great summit, basically, where Prosperity Now has been bringing together. There's 5 groups, organizations that are Seattle-based organizations to really help talk about this issue. And it was great because we had Urban Impact was present. We had the Urban League and also Africatown Community Land Trust there to really answer some hardened questions around how we can move and change these numbers in this data, what it looks like from an organizational level, and what can be done kind of during a post-COVID to have a real post-COVID recovery also. So it was really great. I think some of the things that the report really points out are some of the numbers. We talk about them generally, but to actually understand that, that Black businesses are 3 times more likely than other businesses to have closures or things like that. When you start to understand the data and the numbers, it just paints a different picture, because we can talk about it in a way that's like, man, we know this stuff is happening, but when we talk about Black people being 7% of the population and yet 25% of the homelessness, I mean, the numbers again start to really paint a really stark picture for us.
I'll be honest with you, especially when you talk about Black people and Native Americans. When America sneezes, we catch a cold. Like everything, you see, every single thing. I mean, the amount of Black people driven into poverty, the amount of businesses that are closed that aren't going to be reopened, the death rate around COVID, like all of these things. You know what I'm saying? It's all increased. And just hitting on a number we've been talking about for over a year now, just about Friday, on the Morning Update show, when you talk about the average household income here in the city of Seattle, a Black household, $42,500 a year. A white household, $105,000, and it's a breakdown in between there. Now, I'm happy that people are making $105,000. I don't think somebody should make less, but man, our community, we definitely need to make more.
Yeah, you're so right. And also, when we talk about so many of these numbers, we understand that almost every metric, Indigenous folks and Black folks are at the bottom. Indigenous people make up 1% of the population here, yet 15% of the homeless population. Those numbers are just stark, man. And that to me, sometimes the numbers actually drive me to do, for that change, to think about, well, man, how can I utilize my life force to really affect some change during this time? Because those numbers are not something that are pretty at all. They really paint the picture of how this country has kind of not cared for all of its people. It's sad, man. Yeah, I'm gonna get off the soapbox because
I'm just saying that it's like, well, it's just always good when people publish the obvious.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Some people consume information by like this, video, reading, podcast. Some people, it needs to be in a report, but it's always been the obvious. 2 quick headlines here before we bring in the ace, Andrew Grant Houston, back there in the green room. This is something that I always talk about, and something that people in West Seattle can probably appreciate, and people who are connected in the city by bridges. Seattle drawbridges need millions of dollars in maintenance. So it's saying here that, and this is Seattle Times, Mike Lindblom, and basically saying that many of the drawbridges here in Seattle are over 100 years old, man. The Seattle Department of Transportation has identified about $7.8 million on urgent projects to keep the Ballard, Fremont, and University steel deck bridges and the Spokane Street swing bridge reliable for marine openings. So $8 million there, but like the thing is maintenance has been deferred. I keep talking about this. It's like it's not a sexy thing. It's hard to rally people and get people on Twitter and everything else until the bridge breaks, of course. Right. Get people in the streets to get money around maintenance of our infrastructure here. And I think that it's supposed to be spending like $34 million a year to maintain the infrastructure on these bridges, and they're spending like $6 million. So this is going to be something for the incoming mayor, whoever that might be, and the city council, because a lot of this is something that's been put off year after year after year. And I mean, our infrastructure is literally crumbling.
I mean, you know what? This is such a correlation between what we were uplifting last week about Seattle Vocational Institute. When you defer maintenance on anything, buildings, bridges, you are going to deal with a larger problem, and you're going to need more and more money to invest to fix the problem. That is clear. I mean, this report right here talks about how certain bridges stayed open. It was hard to even close the drawbridge twice. It already got stuck. At the end of the day, when you start seeing that, that is a clear breakdown of the gears within the drawbridge. It is time for some real change.
Cracks, there's all kinds of stuff. You know, it's been about 9 months since we had Sam Zimbabwe here on the Morning Update Show. Sam Zimbabwe, the director of SDOT. So let me reach out to SDOT, see if we have a conversation about what's going on with these bridges and infrastructure in the city. Also, one last headline here. Oh, I got too much stuff going on in front of me. Man, another race. Shukri Olo looks to become first Black woman to win a county council seat in the state. And this is coming from the Seattle Medium. Community leader Shukri Olo recently announced that she's running for King County Council District 5, D5, which includes all or parts of Kent, SeaTac, Tukwila, Berrien, Normandy Park, Des Moines, and Renton. If elected, Shukri would be the first Black woman to win a county council seat in the state of Washington.
Wow. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. I'm loving that people are getting themselves out there, putting their experience on the front line to say, I know that I have a voice, a unique perspective that now needs to be at this level. Shout out to you, Shukri Olo. We are here saying, you know what? Congrats on putting your name in the hat. It is worth it, man. We keep talking about diversity, and we're seeing more and more of Black folks, people of color, really running for these seats, man. And ultimately, I'm just sending a huge shout out to the campaign. I mean, clearly, this report right here talks about how much support Shukri has already gotten and been able to, already gather over $100,000 in donations. That really showcases that people are ready for some diverse voices at that level.
Really tells you the shifting demographics as well. I mean, when you got to think in the days of Larry Gossett and Ron Sims, you talked about the King County seat right there in the Central District in the South End, right? And now you're talking about a King County position that represents all those cities south of the city, Renton, Kent, Tukwila, SeaTac, and the demographics are shifted. I mean, that's a competitive seat out there in D5 for King County Council, so we'll keep an eye on that. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got Andrew Grant Houston. We call him Ace. He's a candidate for mayor. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
The Seattle Association of Black Journalists presents the Morning Update Show 1-year anniversary special this Friday, March 19th at 7 p.m. Join the Converge Media family as we broadcast live from the State Hotel in downtown Seattle, and we take a look back at the last 12 months of the Morning Update Show and a glance towards the future. This is a night you won't want to miss and definitely won't forget, as we're also joined by Julia Jesse, Besa Gordon, Marcus Harrison Green, Jake Gravbrot, Be Unique, Dre's, Eric Calligraphy, Bobby Stills, Mike Davis, Carlos Imani, Willard Jimerson, G-Prez Aspie, DJ Topspin, and more. Woo! So save the date this Friday, March 19th at 7 p.m. across all Converge Media platforms.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
Community Voices returns for 2021 with 2 very special episodes that examine the shifting demographics and cultures of Seattle. Converge Media proudly presents Community Voices, the Vanishing Seattle edition. This is a 2-part special that examines 4 Seattle neighborhoods: the Central District, Chinatown International District, the University District, and Ballard, all Seattle neighborhoods that have experienced great change and displacement due to gentrification, rising rents, and development, as well as found creative ways to stay rooted and resilient. Also, all neighborhoods that have a long and proud history, culture, and traditions that combined help shape the face of the Emerald City as we know it today. The Community Voices episodes will include films plus discussions with local small business owners and community members. These are 2 powerful live episodes that you will not want to miss. So make sure and save the date, March 18th and March 25th at 7 p.m. across all Converge Media platforms. Presented by the City of Seattle Department of Neighborhoods and Vanishing Seattle.
All right, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. My name is Omari Salisbury, who's trying hard to look at the right camera.
I am Trey Holiday. What up, y'all?
I got the right camera. All you gave me the thumbs up. This is good. It's a blessing, to be honest with you, that we have 3 cameras in here. Actually, 4 today with Jake Grabbar. We started the Morning Update Show. The initially episode 1, we only had one camera.
Yeah.
We only had one camera, so it's definitely a blessing to be confused as to which camera to go to. All right, so he launched his campaign on the Morning Update Show, and we thought it was a good time to check back in with Andrew Grant, Ace Houston. Oh yeah, please bring in the Ace.
Hey y'all.
Hey.
Good morning.
What up, Ace?
Morning.
Welcome to the Morning Update Show.
Nothing much. How are y'all?
Good, doing well. Glad you're back with us.
Likewise. Also, happy anniversary. I can't believe it's only 1 year. I feel like y'all are a fully fledged, like built out journalism outfit. And so just to see how much change and how much impact that y'all have had in only 1 year is amazing.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And yeah, feel free to tune in Friday at 7 p.m. across all Converge Media platforms. All right, Ace. You made an announcement here on the Morning Update Show when you decided to put your name in the hat for Race for Mayor, and since then, the field has really blossomed as far as running for mayor. And who would believe? You got Willard in the studio over here too. Who would believe that there's 4 Black men running for the mayor of Seattle?
Wow.
So it's definitely been some interest in the race. Why don't you update everybody as to where you're at in your campaign?
Yep, I can absolutely do that. So I would say, first off, thank you to every single individual who has given their democracy vouchers to my campaign. We have confirmed that we've collected close to 5,000 democracy vouchers in total. Of course, all those have to get validated. So just a reminder to make sure that you do sign those vouchers correctly, or if you're not doing it online. But outside of that, we've had tons of just direct support, both here in Seattle as well as my friends back in Texas. Just that connection between understanding that the housing crisis that we're going through here in Seattle is the same one happening in many other cities across the US. And so I think that part of my platform that's really focused on addressing our homelessness crisis, but then also our housing affordability crisis has really resonated with people. And so with that, yeah, it's just been this slow buildup. It's that rising tide. It's the reason that's the name of my campaign, is that we are building this slowly, and it's been only 2 months, but I want to say by the end of this week, at the very least, we'll cross 200, potentially $225,000 raised. So I'm very happy about that.
Ace, man, you're out there putting in that work.
Man,
My goodness.
I was gonna ask how much does it cost to run for mayor, and then Bruce Harrell entered the race. Yes. Big Bang Bruce.
It's gonna cost what it's gonna need to cost.
So, can you? We had Patrick Burke here yesterday from the King County Young Democrats, who gave some insight on the Democracy Voucher Program. Clearly, 5,000. If I got the math right, 5,000 vouchers at $25 each is about $125,000 that you've raised off democracy vouchers. Can you talk a little bit more about the Democracy Voucher Program and how that program is actually impacting your race for mayor?
Yep, I can do that 100%. So every individual who lives in Seattle, and so let me also make that clear that you do not have to necessarily be a U.S. citizen. You can also be a permanent resident or a green card holder. Gets 4 democracy vouchers. Each one is $25, and you can give those to any candidate of your choosing that has made the pledge, that has signed online, that they are committed, 1, to not taking additional money outside of the program from PACs and corporate donations. But along with that, also, we currently have a cap in terms of what we can raise in the primary. So that's $400,000. And then in the general is another $400,000 for a total of $800,000. Now, I know, Mari, you just mentioned about Bruce Harrell and the fact that he is pretty wealthy. And so there are some factors in terms of being able to break that cap if necessary. If we see that Amazon money that we saw in 2019, that's a potential to say, hey, elections committee, you can clearly see that there's a lot of money coming in, please help us. And so, or allow us to raise even more funds. So I'm definitely keeping that in mind. I will say specifically to my campaign that I would not have been able to run for mayor without this program, especially as someone who has a net worth of zero. I pride myself on being a licensed professional and an architect, but at the same token, I have a significant amount of student debt, just like anybody else who went to college. And so, again, thank you for every single individual who has donated to our campaign, that has given us their democracy vouchers, because this is the system working as intended. It allows individuals like myself from the community who don't come from money to be able to run campaigns and be part of this conversation. So again, thank you.
Right. And so what are your thoughts? So Harrell announced yesterday at 10:30, and at 10:32, Council President Gonzalez sent out an email. Like 2 minutes later, Council President Gonzalez sent out an email saying that Harrell should take the democracy voucher pledge, do X, Y, and Z, but also shouldn't use his own money to fund his campaign. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I think that he should take the pledge if he's really committed to serving the community. I agree with that. Also, the fact that that email even existed was clear indication that other people knew that he was going to enter the race. Granted, I think a lot of other people, if I remember correctly, Erica C. Barnett actually mentioned this last Friday on KUOW, that she had seen or heard someone that had seen him recording his video. And so props to their team for getting that editing done pretty quickly. But focusing back on this issue of self-funding your own campaign, I say, hey, you know, if you want to use your own money, that's perfectly fine. I mean, good luck to you, but you're sending a very specific message to the residents of the city that you're supposed to be serving as to what your intentions are. And so, again, I would say if you're really focused on building that grassroots community organizing, the work that I have been doing even before I started running for this office, then take the pledge and raise funds just like the rest of us.
Yeah, I mean, Ace, one of the things that you just talked about too, that really have people using their democracy vouchers for you, is your platform and really tackling the housing crisis. I know you as an architect, you talked about it a little bit before, but let's remind the audience of what your platform really is and what your plan is to tackle this insane housing crisis that we have in our city.
Yep. So I think it comes down to, one, having actions. So it's not just about having a plan, because it seems like every other candidate has a plan, but it's about actually having those concrete steps as to how you achieve those goals that you're intending on. And so for myself, the biggest one that I can talk about is that 2,500 tiny homes, getting that funding. Ideally, it would be through this budget cycle, if not getting that funding my first year as mayor, to be that short-term solution while we get the funding that we know that we need from the federal government in order to build a significant amount of public and permanently affordable housing. And so I know that y'all were also just talking about infrastructure, and so I'm keeping in mind, in terms of my organizing background, that you organize everywhere. And so there's actually a campaign that just launched yesterday for a bill called the Thrive Act. And I will also say thank you to Representative Jayapal. She actually signed the first version of that bill back in October. But the Thrive Act is basically trying to get $1 trillion in infrastructure spending for the US for 10 years. And so if you think about $10 trillion, I think we can cover all the bridge maintenance that we have overdue for many years. And so coupled with that, and really thinking about in a systems way, which is what I bring as an architect, saying, how do we create complete communities? Because it's not just about building that housing, which we absolutely do need. It's about all those little pieces between our homes. It's about streets, sidewalks, getting more bus service. And so that's what I'm really bringing to this perspective as a candidate for mayor.
All right. Ace, thanks for taking time with us here today. Real quick, what's your website? Tell everybody how they can reach you.
So you can reach me at AGH, other one, AGH, my initials, for SEA.com. And yeah, if you see my posters around, definitely take selfies. It's AGH for SEA on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as well.
All right. Before we let you go here, real quick, I hope that you're raising the money with the democracy vouchers, and the idea is that those funds trickle down into the community and across the city. So when you're hiring consultants and when you're printing flyers and when you're doing those kind of things, that money actually circulates back into the city. I've got a feeling we won't see Madison Avenue consultant on your payroll that you're using.
Oh no, I'm working with Prison Northwest, if you know Riel Johnson. So definitely a part of the community, and of course with him and Jakari Brown, who has been a huge help to help collect funds, especially because I am still high risk. I have not been vaccinated yet. And so as much as I want to be with the community, especially in this time of strife and anti-Asian hate, that I am really grateful to have such a connected team myself that can really be out there and provide the support that I can during this time.
All right, Ace. Good luck. We'll be checking back in with you soon.
Thank you, Mari. Thank you, Trey. Good to see y'all.
All right.
Man, democracy vouchers, man, at
democracy
work,
vouchers
baby.
jugging.
That's what I'm talking about. I mean, I love the program. I think that's one of the ways that Seattle is just so innovative, man. You know what I'm saying? Getting the regular, everyday person to have the opportunity to run for an office like mayor. I think Ace is really showcasing a great example there.
Yeah, getting after it. We're going to take a short break right now. When we come back, we have Willard Jimerson Jr. from King County Zero Youth Detention, ZYD, talking about gun violence disruption across the county. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
The Seattle Association of Black Journalists presents the Morning Update Show 1-year anniversary special this Friday, March 19th at 7 p.m. Join the Converge Media family as we broadcast live from the State Hotel in downtown Seattle, and we take a look back at the last 12 months of the Morning Update Show and a glance towards the future. This is a night you won't want to miss and definitely won't forget, as we're also joined by Julia Jesse, Besa Gordon, Marcus Harrison Green, Jake Gravgrot, Be Unique, Dre's, Eric Calligraphy, Bobby Stills, Mike Davis, Carlos Imani, Willard Jimerson, G-Prez Aspie, DJ Topspin, and more. Woo! So save the date this Friday, March 19th at 7 p.m. across all Converge Media platforms.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
Community Voices returns for 2021 with 2 very special episodes that examine the shifting demographics and cultures of Seattle. Converge Media proudly presents Community Voices, the Vanishing Seattle edition. This is a 2-part special that examines 4 Seattle neighborhoods: the Central District, Chinatown International District, the University District, and Ballard, all Seattle neighborhoods that have experienced great change and displacement due to gentrification, rising rents, and development, as well as found creative ways to stay rooted and resilient. Also, all neighborhoods that have a long and proud history, culture, and traditions that combined help shape the face of the Emerald City as we know it today. The Community Voices episodes will include films plus discussions with local small business owners and community members. These are 2 powerful live episodes that you will not want to miss. So make sure and save the date, March 18th and March 25th at 7 p.m. across all Converge Media platforms. Presented by the City of Seattle Department of Neighborhoods and Vanishing Seattle.
All right, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. My name is Omari Salisbury.
I am Trey Holiday. Hey.
Trey Holiday. what are your earrings say, Trey?
Phenomenal woman. Boo boo.
Phenomenal woman.
Yeah.
Okay, this is you 100%. See you coordinated.
I try.
You know, they're in the comments here saying Trey Holiday for city council.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for that vote of confidence, y'all.
We got to get your democracy vouchers jugging out there on the streets, man.
Democracy vouchers. It's the only way I can do it. Oh, you already know. Yeah.
Hey, we'll see what happens. All right. So this is, man, it's a good moment here, really, in a few different ways. Is that this is anniversary week of the Morning Update Show. And even before we started the Morning Update Show, we were producing segments with Willard Jimerson Jr. because we wanted to really try to get information out and communicate with our community about the what's now you call a silent pandemic, which is this gun violence. And we launched a show almost 2 years ago called Good Game Alert, where it was just let me translate that. Good game translates into good, useful information. Like how can we give young people information that might help them make different decisions with their life? And how can we give them conversations from people who actually went down that road and can tell them, like, the pitfalls. So it's kind of dope that this is anniversary week and we got Willard here, but also on Sunday, King County Public Health is basically holding a town hall and a discussion around this new approach that they have for gun violence disruption. Is called a regional approach. And so Willard's here to talk a little bit more about that. Willard Jimerson, welcome to the Morning Update Show.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys, and salutes to the wonderful job that Converge is always doing in terms of bringing relevant content to our community, issues that are hitting us hard, but everybody's not covering those issues. They don't see the value or the importance, or there's other different things pulling them in different other directions. So I appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak on some of the things that we're working on with King County. As you stated, there's a lot of work that is highlighted around, even on a national level, around like ceasefire initiatives. And we see that even prior to the pandemic, we had the circumstances where we were losing young people, to a preventable cause of death, which is through gun violence. And we've been working on this measure of account to do some comprehensive public safety developments long before the pandemic had came into an existence. But since the pandemic has hit, we've seen a shift and an increase on a national level when it comes to homicides by gun violence. And we're talking about young folks between the ages of, 15 all the way to 30. Black and brown males, majority of them are victims of this particular type of, circumstance. And here in Seattle and throughout King County, it has been no different. We've seen a large uptick in not only gunshots fired, but also on homicides, and also that similar population of young people who have succumbed to an early demise that could have been prevented had the resources been in place.
Can you give our viewers, a lot of times some of the things, especially if it occurs outside of the municipality, the city of Seattle, a lot of people aren't really aware of really what's going down. I mean, what's happening out there? We saw that last year, 50 homicides in the city of Seattle. And we heard Chief Diaz talk about that. We also heard Prosecutor Satterberg several times talk about, the increase in not only homicides, but deadly, but violent assaults with firearms. But maybe you can kind of briefly tell people what's happening out there in the county.
Well, what's happening out in the county is similar. What you're seeing inside the city limits, the uptick of gun violence has increased throughout South King County. And we're also seeing that increase even in North King County, north part of King County as well. When we're talking like Lake City and things of that nature as well. But we're seeing this uptick. And we're also seeing a displacement due to gentrification that has taken place in the city limits of Seattle. We've seen this trend taking place long before the pandemic had even hit, as shift these different populations in these different spaces that weren't really prepared to take them in. And what we mean by them, we're talking about other different variants of systems of supports, whether it's the schools. We can, just for example, I can think of maybe, let's say, Park 16 and Federal Way, right? That went up and it helped to blow up the school populations that were around that particular new development. I don't know the actual number. I believe the last number I heard was like maybe a 300% increase. So now you have a body of students that need to be serviced, not only the general aspects of education, but they might have some more specific tools and resources that are needed to be able to reach them culturally in a more relevant way, where these teachers and these systems were not ready to receive them. And so what we've seen is a lot of different cracks in the cycles of support for a lot of different populations that are taking place South King County as well. And so a lot of these folks do identify, some of them come from Seattle or have ties to Seattle. So they may identify with the actual city of Seattle, but their residence in terms of their location where they actually live is in different places like Kent or Federal Way or so like that.
Well, you know, you just hit a soft spot for me, because you talked about Park 16, and I used to live at Park 16 when it was brand new. And honestly, I saw it with my own two eyes in our family experience, that uptick of violence. It was something that was almost nightly in those apartment complexes. And so I want to hear more about this regional approach, because you just hit the nail on the head. The families have been moving throughout King County. Now it's hitting north, hitting South King County. What is this regional approach all about?
So this regional approach is developing a comprehensive public safety strategy across all jurisdictions, right? The way I like to put it or pin it, it's like when you lose someone or a young person in this particular case that we're talking about in terms of gun violence, where we see majority of them are young folks, the grief, it falls on everyone. The grief is a shared, feeling that falls on everyone, but oftentimes the responsibility around the accountability to be able to shift the measures around support and services does not fall equally on every particular part of maybe different systems that can support. And everybody don't know exactly what to do. And so we've been looking at different measures of account of supports that have been happening on a national level and looking at like different ceasefire initiatives. A lot of people haven't done anything on a regional level. They've been doing a lot of things on a city level. And so this is really like the first of its kind throughout the entire nation. We're in a unique position here in Seattle where gentrification has shifted us and merged us into these existing communities in a rapid way that it may not happen so fast and sporadically like in a Detroit or Chicago, where the population of Black and brown folks are more dense, right? So they're not as vastly spread out quick and fast in maybe 5 years' time. And here it's different. And so in a regional approach, we want to be able to pull all those different resources together. We're working with folks out of Tukwila, Renton, Kent. We're looking to engage Federal Way, Berrien, as well as Auburn as well. So we're looking in these different municipalities. How can we build and strengthen our resources to be able to address a pandemic that is just as deadly, but at the same time, we can prevent these things as well. So how can we exercise and access in a way that can mobilize us to be able to move in a way where we can provide the resources, the services, the answers that not only disrupts gun violence, but also eliminates it. We're looking for the reduction, but we're also looking for the complete annihilation of this being a possibility.
Right. And now, let me see here. I know we have a slide. Here it is right here. This is the Regional Community Safety Town Hall this Sunday, March 21st, 5 o'clock. People can view it right here. Wherever you're viewing the morning update show, you'll be able to see this across all Converge Media platforms. Before we let you go, Willard, you might as well stay with us to the end of the show. I wanted to hop back here on Good Game Alert. And I mean, we got a lot of episodes. We're gonna put up all your episodes. I mean, you sat down with Chief Diaz for an hour, all right, when Diaz got the job, and kind of held his feet to the fire about like, man, what are you guys trying to do here around this gun violence epidemic? You've talked to people who just got out. When we say got out of incarceration, you talked to people who were on the way and were able to get into programs, United Better Thinking or community passageways or Choose 180 and kind of turn their life around. You had a conversation the other day, and this one caught me because, and what was the young man's name?
Devonte Parsons.
So Devonte Parsons in this clip right here, Devonte just got out. He would serve 5.5 years. And he got out. He's written a book. He's a motivational speaker. He's spending his time with youth and you asked him a real pivotal question. If he could go back to if he could talk to his 12-year-old self or 12-year-olds, because that was the age that he got involved in gang activity here in Seattle, what would he say to them?
If you had to give like maybe like some I would say like some advice to a younger version of, let's go back to when you were 12 years of age. You said at 12 years of age, you really hopped off the porch and you got submerged into the lifestyle of the subculture of gangs and ripping and running the streets. If you had an opportunity to speak to the 12-year-old version of yourself right now, what would be some of that advice that you will give to yourself?
I tell myself to give yourself a chance, man. Give yourself a chance. And when I ask what do you mean by give yourself a chance, I mean place yourself in the right position. Get around the right association. Go see different things and give your perspective an opportunity to be a little bit broader before you make the decision to go right here, because this is a narrow vision, right? You're seeing it's tunnel vision that you're seeing right now with this. Go give yourself other options first and see if you like those before you jump into this. You know? So I guess what I'm saying is give yourself a chance, man. And all the young individuals out there, when I coach these young kids, and even adults, when I do my motivational coaching, I say give yourself a chance before you make this choice, before you make this decision. Go learn some other choices and other opportunities first.
Yes, I like that. And what I like more, just to be real, Devonte, is that you're doing more than just telling or saying to a younger version of yourself. You're actually showing by giving them an example, because we come up in a world where they say conversation rules the nation, but I also come up in a world where my elevation and my intellect has been able to rise by being around wise counsel that let me know that was a misnomer. That conversation does not rule the nation, is demonstration, because demonstration beat our conversation on any day that ends with a Y. And by you having more than just a constant verbiage of what it may look like and giving yourself an options and a chance to be able to elevate and enhance your life, you're actually demonstrating what that looks like, how to come out of the murk and the mire. For the lack of a better term, you're a 49er. And no disrespect to you being from Seattle, Yeah, I know, we Seahawk Nation, and I'm not talking about the football team. I'm talking about a 49er who actually is a miner, a miner that goes into the dark recesses of the earth to be able to extract and pull out the most precious jewels or the most precious gems. That's what you've been able to do for your own self, for your own volition, is being able to go inside your own self and pull out, go into those dark recesses of self. And now you're able to show others how to be able to do the same thing, bro. And I really, really admire that, and I appreciate that. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted you right here on Good Game Alert, because we're going to alert these guys to some good game, bro.
So you see, I mean, I actually directed that episode. And when I heard him say, give yourself a chance, and I think that there's so many young people in our community, they don't see themselves being beyond their current existence. I remember one thing that was big with my mom growing up is, man, she kept those National Geographics coming. And she'd always say that, man, your life is bigger than the Central District. It's not going to be defined by 29th and Jackson or where we live right now. But I had that constant voice in my ear saying that the world is big. And I think a lot of times our young people, they don't give themselves a chance, and they don't have someone telling them that there's more to this world than these blocks in the neighborhood.
Yeah, definitely. That sentiment needs to be echoed, but it also needs to be followed up with something that is tangible. That's why we're building out this community-based alternative and solutions. Giving yourself a chance that actually looks like something. It actually is framed up. There actually is a template. There is an actual structure that you should be able to have access to that provides what it is that we quantify being a chance. So when you tell a young person to give yourself a chance, in what particular variable, what particular circumstance that we're referring to in terms of giving yourself a chance, because the chance that it may have, in my echo chambers, if I were young and you say give yourself a chance, I'm thinking like what in this next fight I might have to go up against, in this person. So what options I have in the parameters that I have to be giving myself a chance in. And if we really want to give them a chance, we as adults have to be very, very conscientious and intentional about building out those possibilities that actually quantifies what a chance is for a young person. And that's what this regional approach method is all about, is building out community-based alternatives and solutions so there can actually be a chance other than the most extreme, I guess you could say, call out for cry is when a young person picks up a gun and you hear the echoing sound of a gunshot. That's the most extreme of saying something is going awry in my life and I need help. Something is going awry in my community and we need help. When I was incarcerated and I was serving a 20+ year sentence, I had a cellmate by the name of Pooney. And I bring this up. He's from the Hub City, from Compton. And older brother, he did a long stretch himself. And I remember when we were cellmates and we used to do like a little, put our spreads together. Spreads is like, making burritos or whatever, house-made burritos. And he was very good. He could put a wonderful touch on an older brother. So he had some secret sauce he could put in those burritos, right? And I remember one day we was doing that and it would kind of like galvanize, our small community inside of our unit and bring the brothers together. And we have different dialogue around this. And I remember one time he's seen how I operated. I would get up in the morning, I would read, I would study, I would go work out. I had a structured, thing that I was doing, giving myself a chance, right? Beyond the circumstances, even while I was in those circumstances. And I remember him telling me, and I would never forget because I carry that with me as I do this work. And he said, man, you know what? You was a good youngster, man. He said, I can see if somebody had, positioned certain things in your life, like things would have turned out great because you got all the right things that it takes in terms of your morals and your value and your conduct. And he said, you know what? You were just only a hug away from a homicide. And I realized that a lot of these young folks, that's exactly what's happening. They're a hug away from a jail sentence. They're a hug away from a homicide. They're a hug away from, some critical, crippling element that can occur in their life. So what are we doing as adults other than blaming the ills of society on young folks who have to, deal with adult situations as children, but do not necessarily have the tools, the skills, or the resources to be able to navigate through those adult issues?
I just got to say, though, that this is exactly why on this platform, oftentimes I'm saying, see yourself as a part of the solution. So much of it is things that we actually can control. So I love that there's that structure. I agree with you 100%.
All right, let me put this back up here. This is this Sunday, Regional Community Safety Town Hall, Sunday, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. You can watch wherever you're watching the morning update show right now. We're over time. Thank you so much for joining us, Willard. I know we got Buki Gates tomorrow and then Derek Wheeler Smith on Friday. We're going to stay on this message. This has to be an important message. Disrupting gun violence in our community is an important message for Converge Media. This is something that we were doing well before the protests, well before the morning update show, and it's got to be a big deal for us for our anniversary week to be able to put this message out there to the community. Any last words before we get out of here real quick?
You know what? I'm just glad that you were here to bring that messaging. It's so needed. And again, y'all, Friday, it's going down. Be there, 7 p.m.
Friday, that's it, 7 p.m. And also tomorrow night, you heard Jake Grandpot's nice voice there. And also Jake shot, Jake and Eric Calligraphy shot 4 segments that are going into that Community Voices Vanishing Seattle. That's tomorrow at 7 p.m. So check that out as well. We're going to get out of here. As usual, I want to remind you to go forward in your purpose and go forward in your humanity. Until tomorrow at 11 a.m. Peace.
Lift every voice and sing till earth in heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song
full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun.